Varnishing is the final step that you take to protect your paintings for the ages. Varnishing not only will protect your paintings, but they will also enhance and alter the sheen of your artwork. Chroma manufactures two different types of varnishes. Our water-based medium varnishes, available in matte, satin, and gloss, and our solvent finishing varnishes, available in an invisible satin and a gloss. Now, while both these varnishes do the same thing, they protect your painting and they enhance its sheen, they are different. So this video is going to focus on how to properly apply and use our water-based medium varnishes. When you use a water-based varnish, there are a couple things to consider. First and foremost, using a water-based varnish like our satin medium in varnish, it's going to be permanent and non-removable. So it is a permanent addition to your artwork. So if you're new to the world of varnishing, I would highly suggest practicing on an old or failed painting first. The second thing to remember about using a water-based varnish is the importance of an isolation coat. For isolation coats, we recommend applying a coat or two of the binder medium on top of your cured interactive painting. Now, the reason you want to apply an isolation coat instead of just going right to your water-based varnish is because that isolation coat is going to help seal your painting, and it's going to provide a surface that your varnish can take to really nicely. So I'm applying my isolation coat in some nice smooth strokes. That's why I like to use this foam brush, because I can really work it in there. Now, I personally like to apply horizontal and then vertically. So actually, as I'm doing it in the camera, I see that I'm applying it vertically right now. But that's because I'm obviously working on a vertical picture. And I'm making sure that this isolation coat goes on nice and smooth. And then once I have this all applied, I'm going to let this dry. If you choose, you can speed this process up, this dry time up, by using a hairdryer. But sometimes it's just good to just let it sit while you consider what varnish you want to use. As I mentioned, Chroma manufactures three different types of medium varnishes. We have our matte medium varnish, which is going to be wonderful to totally kill the sheen and really create a very atmospheric painting. We have our satin varnish, which is one of our most popular finishes because it really brings out all of those natural colors that are in the paint. Just enough of a sheen to really help bring the painting to life. And then there's the gloss medium varnish, and this can provide a very, very nice sheen. Alright, so I've applied my isolation coat of the binder to help seal this painting. So my next step is going to apply a varnish. I'm going to apply the satin medium varnish to really help even out the sheen and bring out some of those depth of the dark colors. You can see that the binder does leave a bit of a sheen. It's not going to be the same though as a varnish. Sometimes I get that question, and really varnishing and applying an isolation coat are really two different things. A varnish will provide that solid protective finish that you're looking for. Now, for our matte medium varnishes and our satin medium varnishes, you want to just kind of shake it gently before you apply, because there are some matting agents that are in these varnishes and they may settle at the bottom. So just a gentle shake, help get them out. Now what I do is I pour some off to the side, and then I like to use a soft brush that I have reserved just for varnishing. I like to use a large enough brush for the size of my piece. You can see that even on this brush, I've labeled it varnishing, just so I know not to accidentally grab this while I'm going to paint. So I just like to take my varnish, and then I'm going to hold my painting up. I'm going to apply. Now you can see that it goes on milky, but this varnish is going to dry clear. Now, I talked about the importance of applying an isolation coat, about waiting till your painting has cured before you decide to varnish. I'm going to tell you the third most important thing when it comes to working with a water-based varnish. And that's, do not overwork your varnish. Do not go and try and brush away strokes or if you think that you missed an area, you want to go back and try and even it out, you don't want to do that. What you want to do is just apply one stroke and really don't touch it. You can gently overlap your strokes, make sure that it's even. Varnishing rarely will get a great finish on simply one coat. It does take multiple coats. So I usually apply about 2 or 3 coats of varnish when I'm doing a piece. I like to again apply one horizontally and then one vertically. Although some artists that I talk to like to start in the middle and kind of work out one way and then work out the other. You're going to have to kind of work out a system that works for you. I'm primarily a representational painter, so this system of horizontal and vertical works very well for me. Though when I do some abstract or highly textural pieces, sometimes I like to apply the varnish in the direction of my forms and of my composition. I find that that works very nicely. Now, what I've gotten here is just my first coat of varnish. Now this milkiness is going to dry. It's going to self-level too. So when I go and apply my next coat of varnish once this is dry, horizontally, it's going to help even out those sheens, bring out those colors, and take it to the next level. If I try to do something with this varnish right now, and maybe even it out and overwork it, basically I'm going to end up pulling it. It's going to maybe get a little bit milky because maybe some moisture caught underneath it, and it's just not going to turn out that nice. So at this point, I just have to let this dry, and then I'm going to come back, and I don't force this stage. I don't dry it with a hairdryer thing. I'm just going to let it dry, and then I'm going to come back and do another coat, maybe a third, and when I'm done, I'll show you the final piece. Okay, at this point I've now applied 2 coats of the satin medium varnish. My first coat was applied vertically, and you saw that. I let that dry, and then I applied a second coat horizontally. What those 2 coats did was that it helped me cover up all those holidays or those missing spots, places where the varnish didn't catch. My colors have now been enhanced, and I have a nice subtle sheen to the artwork, which is pleasing. So what do I want to do now? Well, I could decide to put another coat of the satin medium varnish on. If I wanted to, I would at this point decide to go in the direction of my artwork rather than just horizontally or vertically. That will help kind of give this work a little bit of different dimension. I would go along the lines of my mountains, maybe do some of my foliage and mountains in the background, work a little bit horizontally in the sky, and then I would probably go in more of a diagonal direction where my water is. Now, you don't have to do the third coat. Usually 2 coats are nice, but you'll find that the more coats that you do, you can really bring out that sheen more and more. I could also, at this point, decide to go over it with a solvent varnish. Now, deciding to use a solvent varnish, which I'll cover in the next video, is going to be helpful because if I ever decide at some point that I want to remove that solvent varnish, I would be able. So there you go, your basic introduction to varnishing. I strongly encourage you to try it because it really does provide a good overall protective finish to your completed artworks.